Hello, everybody. K-Man TCG bringing you a Fallen of Albaz Despia, aka a branded deck profile. This deck more considerably lies on the Albaz cards. I'm a big fan of the Albaz, Fallen Albaz when it first came out in the Rise of the Duelist, with certain cards like Dogmatic Genesis, the artwork, or the one that shows Fallen Albaz and Ecclesia together. And following their storyline together and the ordeals they face just made me a really big fan of this deck. Like since the Rise of the Duelist, and as it continued, it's just been even better. So I fall in love with the Fallen Albaz card, and it's become one of my favorite decks to play. Or I'm still learning this deck out. This deck is not the best branded or Fallen Albaz Despia deck out there. It's more just to have fun and learn the deck. This deck is not at all right now budget friendly because of Albert rising up to $120 per copy, and I know there's some cards out there too that are rising up in price. Openings rising up in price like $5 right now, but thanks to the structured deck coming out, also this deck is gonna be revised and changed, and I just can't wait for the structured deck really, because this deck's gonna just take a whole 180 turn, and branded fusion is just amazing, and actually the other fusion cards coming out, Mirror Jade, and the other one I forgot his name, but those cards are gonna just change the meta, especially Brandon. I'm kind of sad that Brandon's that good because it's gonna get hit on the ban list anytime soon. And Verte's got to go to my idea. It has to go, but that's another story. But let's get into this Fallen Albaz deck profile. Okay, I play three of the main guy, Fallen Albaz. He's basically your super poly on legs. You summon him out, normal summon, special summon him out. His effect activates. You have to use him as fusion material and any number of monsters, I believe, on your opponent's field. And he can help get rid of problematic monsters because a lot of his fusions are generic. You just need just to match the other requirements, usually like level 8, 2500 attack, or certain requirements. But he's a great way to get monsters off their field. Then we played Dogmatica cards. Like I said, this deck is mostly for the story of Albaz, really, than anything like Branded or Despia. But Ecclesia the Virtuous, she's a nice searcher for your Dogmatica cards. When a monster is on the field that's special summoned from the extra deck, she can special summon herself onto the field, and when she's normal summoned or special summoned, she can search a Dogmatica card. Rather it's spell, trap, monster, you can search either or. Most likely you'll like to go to, if you're playing punishment, which I'm not playing punishment, but I'm playing Ecclesia, and you can go into Ecclesia to get that negate. But yeah, she's also great. She can't be destroyed anyway by I believe battle or card effects. No, I think just battle by monster special summon from the extra deck. But she's great. She also can be searched with certain cards off the extra deck. We play the one for release. When basically there's a special summon monster on the field, you can basically special summon her. And if you have another Dogmatic card on the field, you can negate one card on the field. So she's a great interruption, and she's easily searchable off Ecclesia. Usually, you summon down the Ecclesia, you search for the release, you keep the release in your hand to when you need to use the negate. But yeah, she's great. I play one of her. I play the one Dogmatica Maximus. He's also searchable with Ecclesia, and I use him more style for search effects. When you summon him by banishing one monster from your graveyard that's a fusion, synchro, XD, or link monster, and when you do, he has another effect where you can basically send two monsters with different names from your extra deck to the graveyard. and your opponent also has to do the same. And he's just great to set up when you dump Albion or one of the other fusion monsters to the graveyard, and then at the end of the turn you can get more resources to your hand due to their graveyard effects. Then to the Despia we play the main guy, the big boy, the expensive card right now, Albaz. Albaz, the Jester of Despia. This card is absolutely bonkers, and because he's a searcher, he search out your spell cards or your traps of branded. He also has another effect where when he's in your graveyard, and I believe, let's see, yeah, when what is it? I totally forgot his effect. Face up fusion. A fusion leaves the field. You can summon him back to the field, and when you do summon him, you can negate one monster card in the field. But you can only really use one of his effects per turn. So whether you can search, or if you're using the graveyard effect to special summon himself back and negate a monster, you can't use both at the same time. So it has to be one or the other. And I love his artwork. His artwork is just amazing. Another ones are the most played ones, or you must get. Despia Tragedy. When he is sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect, you can add one Despia monster from your deck to your hand. And when he's in the graveyard, I believe you can banish him. Then you can target one of your spells and traps in the graveyard and set it to the field. And this guy, he helps you basically recur some of your cards from the graveyard, or another searcher for another Despia monster. Or you want to send them to the graveyard for cost, not for cost, but as an effect. You don't want to send them to the graveyard for cost. So anything that sends them for cost, it's not going to trigger his effect. So cards like a Forbidden Droplet, it's not going to trigger his effect. But Branded Opening, it's worded as in the discard is a effect, not part of the cost. So yeah, when you banish him too for like summons or for Lure of Darkness, you can also take advantage of that banishment and search your Despia monster. I run him at 3, great card. I run the 1 Dramaturge. Dramaturge is also another great card. I'm thinking about running him at 2. But for him, when it's if a Fusion, Synchro, XZ, or Link monster special summon from special summon, you can target one effect monster and negate its effects to the end of the turn. But the most likely what you're going to be doing with him is using him for fusion material. So when he's, I think, using for fusion material from your hand or field, you can basically summon him right back to the field. And you just get another 3k body on the board, and you can use his other effect to negate cards if that requirement is succeeded. But I played one of them. This card is great. I'm thinking about playing 2. It just comes up so much. And if you do banish him, there's ways to get him back, but it's great. We play the 1 Ad Libitum of Despia. He's almost somewhat like Dramaturge, where you can recur some of your monsters back from the banish or the graveyard. I believe the graveyard is just his band. Yeah, both. So he has also an effect where you can increase all attack of all your monsters on the field by 100. But when he is sent to the graveyard or banished as fusion material, you can basically grab one level 8 or fusion, or level 8 or higher, or fusion Despia or Despia monster that's level 8, or a fusion monster that's higher, and you can summon that card to the field. And he comes up every once in a while. It's like a love and hate thing with this card, where I'm always taking him out the deck, putting him back in. It comes up. When it comes up, it's good, but when he's in your hand or you're trying to summon, we had Dramaturge and him into the graveyard, or using him as fusion material, they kind of just, their effects pop off in the same time, and you really can only use one of them because you can't summon both of them back. You only can summon one. So Dramaturge will summon himself back, and Ad Libitum will try to attempt to resummon Dramaturge back. So their kind of effects do conflict sometimes. Then we play 3 incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous. This card basically helps you to bring out Albaz on their turn and break their board. Sometimes this card can get bricky. I'm thinking about maybe dropping it down to 2. It is searchable through another branded spell card. But I was thinking about playing the Soul Sword cards in here too, so she can have more searchability. But sometimes searching Albaz, you have an Albaz card in your hand, or you'll have 2 of her, and it does kind of just break the hand. But no, if your opponents control more monsters than you, you can special summon her to the field. And yeah, I think during the main phase of your turn or their turn, you can tribute her and special summon an Albaz card or a Soul card from your deck to the field. If you're, of course, if you're summoning Albaz, you're going to use his effect to try to fusion summon some of their monsters off the board. But if it's your turn, turn 1, that's why I really think the Soul Sword cards will go good with this deck. So you can go into Moyi and use the synchro play, draw a card, and have the negate with the Soul cards. But as I said, once the structured deck comes out, a lot of these cards are going to change out. But for now, I don't want to play anything less to her because she does come up. And if she can avoid certain cards that try to negate her by using her effect or anything that happens like that. But yeah, she's great. She's good. She's worth the $50 price tag that's on her. But I'm thinking about dropping her down too. But we'll see once the cards come out. Albion. No, he's also a nice card to dump out a spell or a trap, a branded spell or trap to the graveyard. So if you did have a tragedy in there, you can basically use him to dump out branded in red, then banish tragedy and set that branded in red, so you can have a play for the next turn. And if he's in your hand, you can basically by dumping that branded in red, you set him back to your deck, and then you can draw a card. But if you did it from if you discarded the branded card, the spell and trap, you basically special summon him, and while he's on the field and the graveyard, his name becomes Fallen Albaz. He's a great card. Play one of I played more 2 of him one time, 3 of him, and he just bricks too much. But at 1, it's perfect. I played the 2 kaijus. Once the structured deck comes out, one of these are going to turn to Radiant to have the dark attribute, so we can use the new fusion better. Basically, the kaijus, you want to tribute over their big monsters, the hard to beat monsters, the monsters that can't be destroyed, are not affected by card effects. Red Ice Dragoon, really hard cards that you can't get over. So you basically kaiju their monster, bring a light out, and if you have Fallen Albaz, you can basically use the kaiju you gave them to go into another monster. If depending on the stats or the levels or the lightness, so usually it's light, you're gonna go into Albion, and if you have the dark one, you're going to the new one that just came out or is coming out. But kaijus are, I think, a must in this deck, and they help you get rid of those pesky, hard to get rid of monsters. And something that I like to play or have been testing out is basically one blue eyes to get into one of the new fusions that came out, and also we played one dark magician. Because Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is a thing, and it does have a hefty price tag to it, but it is getting a reprint with the 2022 Megaton. So, but we played 1-on-1. Their 2 fusions are pretty good, and since one's a dragon, and there's a lot of dragon fusions, and of course with Dark Magician as Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. For our spells, we play 3 branded of opening. Although this is a card that you want to see in your hand every time. This card is amazing. I'm not sure why it came as a super, and this card should have been easily a secret rare. But yeah, you discard one card from your hand, and you take one Despia monster from your deck. You can either add it to your hand or special summon it in defensive position. But you go to a clause where you're stuck to fusion summons for that turn. So if you did have the Soul Sword package in here, you would make sure you do that first. Then branded opening, because then you'll be locked into your fusion summons. And it also has another effect where if your fusion monsters would be destroyed by card effects, you can banish the branded opening instead and save it. And it says monsters, so if they happen to do a Lightning Storm, Dark Hole, Raigeki, that destroys all monsters since it's at that time period. By banishing opening, you'll basically save all your fusion monsters instead of just one. It is a quick play too, so you can use it on their turn, but you basically will play on your turn to get the effects out. After that, I play 3 branded in red. Now this card's also it's searchable with Albaz, but it's not a card you kind of do want to see in your hand. If it's second turn's okay too, because the new fusion monster that came out in Battle of Chaos, Chimera, this card just makes this deck really good. You can just pop 2 and draw 2, but for branded opening and it being a quick spell. So you can do this on your opponent's turn and interrupt their combos or draw extra cards. Just if you do run hand traps in this deck, you can draw into an Ash Blossom or Effect Veiler if you do run those cards. But with this card, you target one Despia monster or Fallen Albaz in your graveyard and you add it to your hand. And immediately after you do that, you can choose to. It's not a requirement, but you can choose to fusion summon one level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing monsters listed on it from your hand or field, but it cannot attack directly this turn. So, if you do have a Despia, which you probably have, since you it's the main monster, you have a Fallen Albaz or Albaz in there, you can pick that back up, use that as fusion material, and any cards you have in your field, and fusion summon immediately. And the new card that came out said Chimera. It's just way better to use on your opponent's turn, but it's also great to use on your turn to get multiple effects. After that, I played the 2 Despia Theater of the Branded. Now, I don't think about cutting this down to 1. It's like I said, it's searchable. It comes up a lot, especially now, but as the structure that comes out, this would be going down to 1. It's basically your field spell that helps you fusion summon your Despia monsters or your monsters, really. During your main phase, you can fusion summon one level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck by using monsters from your hand or field as fusion materials. If a face-up non-fusion fairy monster you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect or destroyed by battle, you can target one level 8 higher fusion monster in your graveyard plus summon it. So I know with Curities or Masquerade, if you have Dramaturge on the field and that's removed by your opponent's card effects, this will basically help you recycle or bring back your fusion monsters to the field. And when I know that happens, I think Dramaturge's effect is activated. But yeah, these are a quick fusion card for your monsters and help you recur other monsters from your graveyard. But like I said, I ain't come down to 1. Another card that's going to be replaced in structured deck pretty soon is Branded in White. Basically, it helps you fusion summon monsters from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field. So it's like Poly, but you have to use a dragon monster. But if you're using Fallen Albaz fusion material, you can basically banish it from your graveyard. Is it yeah, you can basically, if you're using Albaz, you can banish it from the graveyard instead of from your hand or field. So it comes up a lot of times, and there's no way to bring back your Albaz from being banished, and that's with branded bond. Branded bond basically you can bring back your fallen Albaz card that's banished or your hand or your graveyard, no matter where, back to the field. So if you did banish your fallen Albaz, you can basically bring it, summon it back to the field, and bam, you can basically fusion summon their monsters again. So a lot of times you're gonna try to use their monsters for fusion summons, but and like Brandon in white, you're gonna try to bring out your Despia monsters or Brandon in red. But regular Albaz effects will try to take their monsters. Play the one branded disciple. This is a card you can't take out. Like I said, this deck is purely fun, and this comes up a lot, especially with Curatus on the field. Um, when if, I know if a monster has 0 attack on the field, and you try to if you attack with a 0 monster and they have a 0 monster on the field, when they collide, usually nothing happens. But with this effect, your card will destroy their card. And another one, when the monster effect is activated by your opponent, when a monster's effect by your opponent resolves while you control a level 8 monster or higher with 0 attack or defense, you can negate the activated effect. So it's something like Cerulean Skyfire, where if they have a monster, why is it done with you? You control, if you control a monster with 0 attack, their effects is negated. So it comes up a lot of times, especially if you're using a Cortis and your other monsters on the field that has 0 attack is then at level 8, and then you can basically stop some of their cards from happening. So it's a negate. It comes up. I like it. You play the one Brandon High Spirits also. This card basically is in the turn searcher almost, but you reveal one card in your hand, and you send a level 8 fusion monster from your extra deck to the graveyard that has the same type as that monster and at least has to have 2500 or defense than that card. When that does happen, you will basically discard the reveal monster. Then you can add a Fallen Albaz monster or one monster that lists Fallen Albaz. So Ecclesia, you can search an Incredible Ecclesia and bring that to your hand. Has another effect where if a fusion monster is sent to the graveyard that turn, you can, and this card's in the graveyard, you can bring that card back into your hand. But you can only use one of those effects per turn, so you can't use both. Basically too, with the card that you'll be sending from the extra deck would be your Albion or your what's the other card called, Titanic Clad or Brandguard, or any of your Albaz fusions to basically search other cards at the end of the turn. As in, if it's Titan Clad, you'll be searching Dogmatic cards. If it's Brandguard, Albaz himself, or Tribe Decay cards, but we don't have that much in here, or we don't have anything at all. We play the 3 Allure of Darkness, help us basically cycle through our deck, help us draw cards, and if you have Tragedy in your hand, and when you banish Tragedy, you gain Tragedy's effect also. I play 3 Fusion Deployment. Why not? You want to see Albaz as much as possible. He's not in your hand. You got this one. Summoning the Albaz to take care of their field, or just having that monster there. Or if you're not going into Albaz and you're going to some other fusion monsters like the Blue Eyes card or the Red Eyes card, and you try and use that, you could bring those out also. But I also believe you're locked into fusion monsters also. So this card's really good for this deck. I play 2 Forbidden Droplets. Try to stop some of their plays. I only play 2 because I only have 2. If you have 3, go right ahead, play 3. But Forbidden Droplets can help you stop them from comboing off and and basically gaining this big board that you can't interact with. And also too, it cuts down their attacks by half. And whatever cards you send to the graveyard, they can't respond to it with those cards, so it's a great card. Play the 1 polymerization. It's poly fusion fusion monsters from your hand or field. There's a card here. Chimera has an effect too, where if this is in your graveyard, it can't be targeted or some other effect. But yeah, this is great there. I will say that there's a engine, a Frightford engine that's great with this deck, but since I don't have those cards, I'm not really playing them. Fresh off the semi-limited list now, you play 2. Either a Servant, you send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. Then you can add 1 Dogmatica monster or Fallen Albaz from your deck to your hand. And then, that equals, I believe, less. Yeah. Also, when you play this card too, just be aware that you want to play this card more at the end of your turn, or you're in your combos, or basically you're done with all your fusion plays, because once you play this card, you're locked out of your extra deck. But this is also good. When you drop Titanium Clad, you're gonna be getting Albaz to your hand, because this card's gonna help you search Ecclesia or 1 Dogmatic monster. You can search Albaz too, but usually with Titanium Clad, when you dump, you'll get your Albaz then. I'm glad that was reprinted, because that was a costly card too. I play the triple Tactic Talents. I do want to draw on this deck if my opponent does interact with me on my turn and stops my Aliber or my Fallen Albaz or Ecclesia. I still want to dig in my deck and hopefully pull out a card that I can use to keep my plays going, or take 1 of their monsters. Or I rarely go into the Change of Heart effect or the pain, or the one where you get to look in their hand and rip 1 card out their hand to the deck, but it comes up a lot, especially nowadays where everyone's trying to get your cards. Play the 1 Lightning Storm. What can you say about that? It's Lightning Storm. You can destroy their attack position monsters or their spells and traps on the field. The 1 Call by the Grave. Golden Sarcophagus to banish the tragedy and get tragedy's effects. You also play Heartbeat's Feather Duster to banish, but destroy their spells and traps in the field. So any deck that's running a lot of spells and traps gets punished. The 2 Infinite Impermanences, to stop some of their main plays. And I played this deck card here, Stained Glass of Light and Dark. This card here is 2 banned cards into 1. If you control a fairy monster, draw 3 cards, put 2 back in your deck. And if you control a fiend monster, you can basically, they draw a card, but you get to rip 2 cards out their hand. I love that. This card comes up and you draw 2 basically, or you draw 3, put 2 back in your card, fixes your hand, or because you will be doing both times, ripping that card out their hand. I play 3 Albion. Helps you bring him out, and he can basically fusion again from your extra deck. He's a great card. Dealing with the kaijus, take the thing out. And when he's sent to the graveyard, you can send a spell or trap as branded at the end of the turn. We play Titanium Clad. Him and 1 monster over 2,500 attack. He can't be affected by monsters' activated effects. And when he's sent there, you can search a Fallen Albaz or Dark Mecha card. Almost same thing as him. His requirements are level 8 monster. You can search Tri Brigade, which we don't have. We play the Despia Protoskeleton. He can basically take their Red Eyes Archgoon from the graveyard and put it back. Play 2 Despia Quartus. He basically is going to make all your monsters that's not a level 8 fusion and turn to 0. And when he's sent to the graveyard by opponent's card effect, you can special summon one Fallen Albaz with Despia monster. We play 2 Masquerading Blazing Dragon. Every time they activate an effect, they gotta pay 600 life points. The main card here, Guardian Chimera. You use 3 monsters from rather your hand or your field. You can't use Super Poly. And when you do, you can draw or destroy cards based on cards you have in your hand or the field. 1 Mysterion Dragon. He comes up a lot. And the other 2 cards, there you go. Tyrant, Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon and Red Eyes, of course. You all know what they do. You can negate cards. The pop 1 because we do use Dark Magician, and Blue Eyes because we do have traps that we wanted to bring back. And he's just easy summon. He's unaffected by traps also, and every time you attack, you can bring that trap from your graveyard back to your field. So like the Glass card or Impermanence. But yeah, this deck, as I said, it's going to change once everything comes out, once the structure deck comes out. But this has been my Fallen Albaz deck profile. Thank you for watching.